What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. In this video, I'm going to be making a door for the item room and the shop. So right now, all of the doors for all of the rooms, except for the boss room, are all the same. And it's kind of boring, right? Like if you walk up, if you go into a room that has the shop in it, you should be able to tell that there's like a shop there or an item room or whatever. And also, the only thing we're using keys for right now is for treasure chests, and that should be being used for this as well. So I'm not going to cover the code for opening the door or spawning the door today because that's its own topic. You could technically copy the boss door code, which I covered, but it's pretty complicated. So we'll probably do a whole video just on that as well. But today we're going to be making this door in Blender, and then we're going to import it. And then I added a visual effect right at the end. So you can see there's like just like some glowy stuff coming out of the door, and then like the lock itself has an emission. So there's two ways you could use it. You could use it like this, where the lock doesn't have the emission, or you can have the emission on the lock. I think it looks pretty cool. But if you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you like my video and subscribe to my channel. Also, this entire project and this model are available in the description of the video for free, so you're welcome to download them, and you can use them in your game if you want to. I don't really care. And yeah. All right, so here we are in Blender. So this is Blender 4.3.2. So it's a little bit different than the other Blenders. I don't think this version has auto mirror by default, and there's some settings we're going to change. So just delete the camera and the light to start. And then at the top here, if you go to preferences under get extensions, you can type in auto mirror and find auto mirror and install it. Also in the navigation, sorry, not navigation input, just turn on emulate numpad unless you have a number pad. Because we're going to be using the numbers to pan around the objects. So if you press 1, you can get a front view. Again, this only works if you've turned that on or you're using a number pad. I don't think most people use number pads these days. But anyway, so when you have a front view, you press tab on your keyboard to get the edit mode, and then press G and Z. And we're going to move this up right on the line. And the reason we're doing this is we want the origin at the bottom of the object, not at the middle, so that the when we put it into Unity, the origin of this door will be at the bottom. And we're going to be replacing the door in Unity. This is the hub. So this door will be getting replaced via a script. And if the origin's not at the bottom, then we'll have to calculate half of the height of the door to move it upwards so that it is in the right spot. That's really confusing. So that's why the origin needs to be at the bottom. But anyway, so we need to turn on auto mirror. So if you press N on your keyboard, you can get this little menu thing on the right and click edit and then auto mirror and just click auto mirror. And so that's great. So now anything we do on this half will be done on the left half as well. And so we can press A on your keyboard to select everything, and then S and Y to scale this. And then we're just going to use loop cuts to cut out an edge, like a border for the door. So press Control R to make a loop cut, left click once to place the loop cut, and then drag your mouse upwards until it's a good width, and then do the same thing like this for this. And then we just want to take this face and we're going to delete it. And we're going to delete the, oh, crap. We'll click this face and delete it too. And then this little border thing at the bottom, we could delete that too. We're probably going to add one there, but that's okay. And so now the middle of this doesn't have like a covering. So go into vertices select these vertices and click F, and then select these vertices and click F. So now we have a door frame. I know it's really, really exciting times. So we want to add a bevel modifier to this to round the edges so that they aren't so sharp. So if you click on this little modifier button right under the mirror modifier, we can add a bevel. And this is obviously way too much. So before we do anything with the bevel, we just want to press Control A and apply the rotation and scale on the object. This doesn't apply really because we edited in edit mode, but if you didn't edit in edit mode, you have to do that. So just turn down the amount a lot so that it's just slightly rounded on the edges. And we're going to turn the segments up to 3 so it's more smooth. So this just adds like a little bit of rounding to the edges so it doesn't look like a sharp line. And some of my rooms actually have this problem. So you can see like these bricks that I've made, these could have potentially been beveled so that they don't look like sharp as a knife. These rooms are going to be getting replaced with, like, the walls anyway are going to be replaced with there's another room that I made that looks a lot better. I wonder if I'd be able to find it. Yeah, see this room, this looks a lot better with like all of like the rotated bricks and stuff. It looks more organic. It's still not perfect. Some of these look kind of weird, but um I'll be messing with that later. But anyway, let's go back to Blender. So this is the door frame, and then we just want to make another cube inside of this. So go back into edit mode. Make sure you're in edit mode for this because we want this to be the same object for right now. And we'll just press Shift A and add a cube, and then we'll scale the cube down and press G and X to move it over, and then 7 on your keyboard to make sure that it's in line with the door, which it is. And then press 1 on your keyboard to get a front view, press G and Z to move it up. And then you could take, press Alt Z to get the see-through mode. Take these vertices on the right. Make sure you're selecting the back ones too. That's why we're using Alt Z to get the see-through mode. And you can press G and just X to walk it on the X axis. And it doesn't need to be touching the wall, but it should be pretty close to it. And then select the top vertices and press G and Z and move it up. Okay, so this is like the basis of a door, but the door is way too big. It's like very, very wide and it doesn't need to be this big. So select, press Alt Z again, select all the vertices on the right side, press 1 on your keyboard so it's locked, and press G and X and just scale it until you're happy with your door size. That's a little bit better. I think that looks more like a door for me. And so now we want to make this different than the one we already have. So the one that we already have doesn't have. Hey, wait, what's that? Ooh, we need to shade this auto smooth. No, shade smooth. No. We'll deal with that later. I don't know. We'll just have to like bevel it more or something. But anyway, so now we need to add the lock on the front of it. So to do this, we can, we'll make this a separate object because we're going to need to use modifiers to make the lock look cool. So the first thing we can do is if we make a circle. Yeah, here we go. This is going to be a circle. And we'll press tab to go into edit mode and scale it way down and just get out of edit mode, go back to object mode. And I've pressed 7 to get a top view, and we just want to move this down here. You don't want to move it in edit mode because that will change the origin, and the origin is super important for this. So then if we press 7 again and you go back into edit mode, we can scale these two apart so that it's why is the left side going less than, oh, because I didn't select all of them. That's why. So scale perfect, just like that. So then we can take this curve and add geometry to it. So there's a geometry option on the right here. We'll just make the depth like 0.2 for now. And this might be too large. I'm not sure. So then what we can do is we will scale this again because it's too big. So let's just make this smaller and then change the depth to like 0.1. All right. And then we're going to go and Shift A and we're going to add a Bezier curve. Why not? And then move this in object mode so it's over here. We still want the origin to be like this. So then we'll press 7 on our keyboard and then we'll press tab. And then we just want to rotate this so that we put these closer together. I don't know. Yeah, just like this. Cool. Okay, and then we can move these close together as well. So this will make it into like, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't, honestly, it doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some modifiers to this. We'll call this chain link. So press F2 and just call this chain link. And then we'll just call this chain link path. And then we're going to go into the modifiers and add an array modifier. And so each one of them, so this should be like this, so they overlap, but we want every other one of them to be rotated. by 90 degrees. Rotate. Nah, that's not going to work. Well, I'll fix it after. I'll just use AI to figure out how to do it. But anyway, so then we want to curve. And then we'll select this one. And the deform axis can be. So X looks like it was right. And then this can go on the line. Okay, so it's in the middle. So then if we take this and we change the count to be higher, and then we move this, you can see that it follows the curve. So that's pretty cool. So then we need to rotate every other curve, or every other chain link needs to be rotated. Let me just AI it. Hang on. Okay, so in order to do this, so we just need to probably apply both of these. So we're just going to press. No, we don't want to apply this yet. Hang on, because this needs to be just the right length for the door, and also this needs to be curved first. So let's go into edit mode for this thing, and we want to just move this to like here, and this can go to like here, and then we want to add a middle. Can we subdivide this? Subdivide this middle one so that it comes down like this. So then these can go closer together. Blah. And then we're just going to rotate the whole thing. So press A to select all of the curve and press RX90. And so that will make it like this. And then this can go like this. This can go like this, maybe. All right, great. We're making some real progress here. So if we press A and G and Z, we can move this up so that it's kind of like in the door. And we just want this to be like hanging. And it doesn't really matter if it's perfect, but cool. So you're going to want to save it here because we're going to run a script where we have to apply the array to run the script that will modify every other object. And well, I don't actually know. Hang on. Because if I let's see if the script that it made works. So if you go to the scripting tab, just click new, press control. I don't know if you're going to be able to copy this, but let's see if it works before you try to copy it. So let's just close this down a little bit, and we'll zoom in, and we'll select the chain link, which is the thing that matters. And I don't think this will work. No, it's just because it's only going to rotate every other one, but this isn't a series of objects yet. So what we can do is apply both the modifiers. So if you go to the modifiers, you could just highlight over either one of them and press Control and apply convert curve to mesh in order to apply. Okay, so just convert the whole thing to a mesh. So if you right click, you can click convert to mesh. And then if you go into edit mode for this chain link, you can press A and click P and separate by loose parts. This will make a different object for each one of these little links. And then with all of these selected, you can press play on this. And it didn't work because we have to apply the rotation and scale first. And then, okay, so it's rotating on the Z axis. So RZ, okay, the origin is not on the object. That's the problem. So we need to select all of these chain links. And what we're going to do is, so select them on the right here, click M and move it to a new collection called chain link. And click create. And that way we can select all of these just by right clicking this and clicking select objects. And then what we want to do is right click them and click set origin to geometry so that the origin is actually on the chain links. So then when you rotate it, it will rotate it by 90. But we also need to make sure our Z is the right direction. And it looks like it is. So let's do this again. So select objects, run the script. No, it's not right. So let's do X and see how that goes. Okay, and the other thing is we want to rotate this on the local axis, I think. I don't know if this will change anything. Hang on, let's see. No. This worked, but I want it to rotate the local axis rather than the global axis. Okay, so this is the new script. Go. Okay. Uh See, I don't think that's right. So instead of Z, we should probably try X. So let's do this and run. All right, this is probably going to be good enough. The only other thing I could think is if I just rotated myself, like instead of using a script, if I go back to the layout tab, let's press Control Z on this, and we'll just select every other one of these objects. These ones in the middle got really bent. I don't know if that's good either, because chains wouldn't really get bent. They're not marshmallows. So instead of local, put it back to global and just change this to individual origins so that they're rotating on their own origin. And then you can press R and X to rotate them. So that kind of works. Let's see R and Y. No, that's not it. R and Z. No, Z is terrible. So it is R and X to a certain degree, but then it's also R and Z, I think. I'm just going to rotate these individually. So let's just do this. If you press R twice, you get like this wobbly orbit, and that might be the best way to do this. Actually, let's press 1 on the keyboard so that you can get a front view, and then 7 on the keyboard so you can get the top view. And we'll just do boom, boom. So when you're on a top view, it'll only rotate it on the top down axis. So it won't actually rotate it incorrectly. That actually looks pretty good. So then you get a front view with 1 and press R and just rotate these so that they are in line with the direction it's going. And again, these are pretty squished, but I guess it's going to have to be fine. And yeah. Okay, so after all this, we finally have a cool looking chain link. You can delete this curve. We don't need this anymore. We only use this to make the thing. And then you can select all the chain link objects and you can select whichever one you want to be the main. So for me, that's going to be this middle one. So you have to hold shift and click the middle one. See how it's got a different shade of orange, and you can press Control J. And then if you don't select the middle one, it will just change the origin, which is this dot. So if you didn't select the middle one, you could just right click and set the origin to the object. It will put it in the middle. But that's pretty good. And then so we'll press 7 on the keyboard and we'll move this close to the door. And yeah, so we're getting a little bit closer. And so we want this to be going on this edge of the door or whatever. So let's move this, rotate it a little bit. Press 7 on the keyboard to get a top down view before you rotate it to make sure you're actually seeing it. And then half of this seems to be in the door. We don't want it to be in the door, and we want this edge to actually come out more. So if we select these 3 faces at the front, we can press G and Y and move them out a little bit so that it encompasses the door a little bit more. And it would actually be ideal if this last one was rotated flat, because then it would be a lot easier to put a joining piece on the door. But we're just going to have to do that anyway. So let's go here. We'll press Control R and scroll up on your mouse wheel once so that you get 2 loop cuts instead of 1. And then press that and then enter and then S and Z to actually, instead of doing that, let's just make it separate. So if you shift right click, you can put the 3D cursor there. And so do this in object mode. So shift right click to put the 3D cursor where your mouse is, and then press Shift A. And we're going to add a cube. This is going to be the little clippy thing that makes it lock to the door. It doesn't have to be ultra high detail because it's a top down game. So you're probably not going to be able to see it anyway. Let's add a bevel the same way that we did with the other one. So to do this, if you just shift right click this Oh, we scaled this in object mode. So press Control A on it first, click rotation and scale, and then shift click this door thing where we've already applied the mirror modifier and the bevel. And you can press Control L and click copy modifiers. And then actually, we don't want that. Actually, yeah, we do want that. We do want that. So set the origin of this object to be the center. You can do that by right clicking and origin to this thing is Shift C maybe. Yeah, so if you press Shift C, that puts your cursor on the ground, and then you can click only this object and click Set Origin to 3D Cursor. That will make the origin right there. And then when you do this, it will happen on both sides at the same time. So we can click on this, click a shift click on this, Control L, copy modifiers, and so this will copy the bevel and it will mirror it to the other side at the same time. So now when we're making changes on this, it will do it to both sides at once. So we want to extend this so that it goes all the way to the edge, probably, so that it's like kind of over top of everything. And then, so I used Alt Z to get the see-through mode. And we don't want this touching the door. So we need to press Alt Z again, get this back face, and press G and Y and just move it out so it's not touching the door. And we need some type of like latchy thing that's going to hold this. So let's take this whole chain link and move it forward. I press 7, by the way, to go to a top view and move it forward a little bit. And then we want this to be in front on both sides. So it looks like it's rotated a little bit wrong. So because both sides have to have it in front of this so that there could be a latch that attaches it together. And we're just going to scale this probably out a little bit. So we can rotate it just a little bit like that and just make it a little bit bigger and then push it down because we want it to be in front of both of the sides. And yeah, so then from there, if we click on this, we can press Control R and get a loop cut. And you can press Control B to bevel the loop cut. And then we can take this face right here and we'll press E and extrude it out like this. And then we can press A and scale this on the Z axis so it's a little bit taller, and then G and Z to move it down a little bit. And here's where we're going to have to separate this. So let's apply the mirror modifier because this is not going to be the same on both sides because this side is not at the same exact height as this side for the chain link. They're not identical on both sides. So we're going to actually just apply this mirror modifier. You have to do it in object mode. So just apply. And then when you're editing this, this side will be separate from that side. And then what we want to do is if we take this and just make sure that it's going through it a little bit. So maybe like that. Okay. And then we want to do the same thing on this side as well. So just make sure that this is going through like that. So here's where we're going to use a Boolean modifier to do this. I hope this is on. It's not. You gotta. Okay, so let's download the Bool tool. So if you go into Edit Preferences, you can go to the extensions. Type in Bool, and we're going to install this Bool tool. So after you're done that, you can press Control Shift B, and we want to. Hang on. I think union is probably it. And then actually, we don't want that because we want it to be larger than them. So we don't want them to actually be joined together. So let's press Control Z and undo that. And let's just make sure there's no modifiers. So we're going to press Shift D on this. And we need to scale up specifically like that. So scale this up. This is just going to be for cutting this out of this. So we're making it a little bit larger so that the hole on the latch is bigger than the actual chain itself. So make sure you still have this chain link that we just duplicated and made a little bit larger. And we scaled it up in edit mode. I pressed A to select all the vertices and then S. And then we can shift select this and press Control Shift B and do difference. So by doing this, you can see that it's cut a hole into this. And then we can apply this modifier. Apply the bevel first and then apply the modifier. And then we can take this bounding box and delete it so that we only have one. And then I don't know what this is, but anyway, we'll just leave it. So you can see that this made a hole for our chain link thing. Again, this doesn't really need to be too detailed because you're going to be looking at it from like a top down view. So you're not probably going to see the hole anyway, but it's just like a detail thing. And then so we want this chain link to be leading to a lock. So if you press shift and right click, you can put your 3D cursor right on this middle chain link. And we will press shift A. And we're going to add a cube. And press tab to go into edit mode, scale this way down. And then you could scale it on the y-axis so it's a little bit flatter. And then G and Y to move it so that it's like this, and scale it on the y-axis so that it covers the entire chain link. And these chain links are just going to be disappearing into it. So as if they're kind of like attached. We might weld it together. I'm not sure. We'll see. And then yeah, so then we can press A and just scale it up on the x-axis. Or maybe this is fine. I don't know. So we want to make a circle on the top of this. So if you shift right click here, you can add a circle and press tab and just scale the circle way down. Actually, can't scale circles like that. Let's get rid of this circle. Let's add a cylinder instead. So let's do a cylinder because that'll be easier to see it. So go into edit mode and then scale it down like this. That's perfect. And then we will press tab to go into object mode and G and X to move it closer to the edge. Make sure it doesn't go outside of the edge. And then what we'll do is we will press I and do like that. And then we can press A and select everything and shift D to duplicate it and press X to lock it on the x-axis. And then what we want to do is if you go to face select, just select this one. So I don't know if I said this, but you have to inset the face. You press I and then just drag it a little bit so that it's insetted. And then you can right click and bridge the faces. Now this is going to look really flat and ugly to begin with, but if you go into the modifier thing at the bottom and you change the number of cuts to a higher number, it will automatically make this into a lock. And you can change the smoothness, I think, to make it higher if you want to. So like if you do this, it will go up a little bit. So just change the smoothness to like, kind of looks stupid. Let's just do 2. Okay, so now we have like this makeshift lock. Press 7 on your keyboard because really we want this to look cool in the game. And so we're playing the game at a top-down view. So yeah, so this box should probably be beveled. So what we're gonna do is we'll press tab and to go into edit mode, just scale it down a little bit and then press G and Y to move this forward so that it covers the front. And then we'll select this other object that we made and press G and Y to move it forward. So it's actually on the lock still. And this, we want this to be beveled. So if we don't want to use the bevel modifier, we actually want to bevel it ourselves. So if you go into edit mode, you can select one of these lines, press Control and B and bevel it. And while you're beveling, if you scroll up on your mouse wheel, you'll get this circular thing and press escape because we want to do both of these at the same time so they exactly match. So you could do this again. And just like I said, scroll it up and then this needs to be shrunk and the origin's not in the middle. So after you shrink it, you'll need to move it to the center like this. And yeah, and then press 1 on your keyboard to make sure it's like somewhere in the center. Okay, and then for this object, you can see these little lines on it. If you don't want to see the lines, you can shade it smooth and shaded auto smooth, not smooth. That way the hard edges stay, but these ones that have a certain angle will be shaded. We're going to do that for this as well. So shade this auto smooth. And yeah, so our door's coming along pretty nicely. So what will happen is when you walk up, it will try to eat a key from you. And after it eats the key, this chain link will disappear and then just the door will be left. I don't know what my doors look like in the game. So when they're closed, so let me just see if I can go into a room where I haven't killed the enemies. And it needs to kind of match the doors that are already here. So what's in this room? Oh, there's no enemies. Boo. Okay, anyway, so yeah, so this probably needs more. Does it need more detail? I don't know. I'm not convinced it does. Hmm. It could have like a dollar sign or something because it's going to be the shop, or it could have a treasure symbol because it's the item room. But you could also easily just make it the door yellow and just change the color and then use the same door for both things, which will be a lot easier. And sometimes simplicity actually ends up looking better in the long run anyway. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to split the door in the middle. So if you press tab, there's already like a line here. So if you apply the mirror modifier, because wait, I think actually, hang on. If we do face view and we press Alt Z, you can get the see through, and then turn off clipping in the mirror modifier, and just press G and X, and you could just slightly move it over. This will put a gap in the door. I think the other doors have gaps in the middle, and it just adds a little bit of detail to it that is like pretty much required. So I think that looks pretty good. So let's apply these modifiers, and let me just take one of these away to make sure there's a okay. So there's a middle piece here. So let's Control Z that. Cool. Okay, so we want to leave these as separate objects. So there should be two objects. You have one is your door, and the second one is this lock thing. So we want these to all be actually joined together. So select these three objects. Make sure you select this little padlock thing last, and press Control J. And we'll press F2, and we'll name this the lock. Because when you walk into the door, you're going to want this to disappear if you have a key. You could also technically put a keyhole in the middle. The game is kind of a low detail game, so you don't want to add too much detail, especially you're looking at it top down. So it will look better actually if you just leave it like this. The other thing you could do is like you don't even really have to do this. You could just put like if you wanted to instead of this, you could just put this lock but make it giant and take up the whole door or something like that. That might be cool as well. But yeah, so that's going to be it for developing the door or making the door in Blender. And so now we need to export this into Unity. So let's go ahead and what's this? Okay, so we actually want that to be part of the door as well. So join these together. So there should only be two objects. And so get rid of that collection as well. And this could be moved into the main collection. We're just going to get rid of the Boolean cutters. I've never seen that before, but anyway, so yeah, so there should be a door and the lock. So they're two separate objects. That way, you only have two objects to manage. And so I'm just going to save this, and then we're going to go File, Export, FBX file. You could turn off animations at the bottom. We can leave it as locked door. That's fine. And then FBX unit scale. Export FBX. Okay. And then, so we just want to drag this in Unity. So I think we have a folder called models at the bottom, and we'll just create another folder inside of models, and we'll call this doors. And we're going to pause out of the game or stop out of the game for right now. And then in the level, oh, sorry, before you export this, you actually need to put materials on this. So, we need to do that actually first. So if you go into the door, go into edit mode, press L on both the middle pieces, and we're going to create a material called inner door and assign this. If you don't do this, you won't be able to change the materials individually. So then we also need the latch to be a material. So we might use the same material for like different parts of this, but we want them to be separated in case we change our mind later and we want to have different colors or different metallic levels and stuff like that. So we'll just call this latch material and we'll click assign. And we're just going to change this to a different color so that way we can actually see it and go into material preview as well so that we can see what's going on here. And then then the outer door, we can press L on that and we'll press plus and go new and we'll call this outer door material. Let's just make that black. We're not going to be keeping these colors, by the way. These colors are we're going to set these in Unity because colors in Blender and colors in Unity look completely different. So we want them to be separate. And then we're going to have this lock. We want the chain link should all be one material. So, okay, so let's set the main material of the lock. So we'll just do chain link material. That way we don't have to select all the chain links with the L button. And then if we go in here, we want the lock itself, like the bottom part of the lock to be a material. So bottom lock material. And make sure you click assign. And we're just going to change the color to like gold or something. And then this top part as well can be top lock material. And we'll make this red or something. And again, we're just separating these. So we're just changing the color to a random color so that we know that they're actually not the same color. So now that we have everything colored, it's looking great. Obviously, we're not going to be leaving these colors. Like I said, we're going to save this again, and we just want to export it again because we need to be able to change these colors individually. So we'll just overwrite the one that we already made. And then back in Unity, we're going to drag that in to this folder. And then I'm going to enable the start room again. It was disabled because I was testing things yesterday. I was messing around. And this floor is actually kind of ugly. So we're probably going to just get rid of it and put a plane at some point. Or we're going to get rid of this floor. It's ugly. I don't actually like it as much as I thought I would. So let's drag the door in for now. And doors is there. Okay, so locked door is super duper small. And that probably has to do with the way we exported it. Let me just see. FPX unit scale. Maybe the model's like really small. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. So doors is one. This doesn't have a scale. This doesn't have a scale. Okay, so let's just lock this and make it bigger. Wow, it's looking really good. Okay, so the other thing that we didn't do is we didn't put a bottom to the door. So the doors in the game, let me just start it so I can show you. The doors in the game, they have a bottom. So I don't know if you can see it there, but there's like a little area at the bottom. It's supposed to be higher so that it can cover the floor there. It's supposed to be like that. And in fact, I do need to change that or move all of them up a little bit so that that bottom part is there, because it actually it makes it look a lot cooler having that bottom part. But anyway, so yeah, let's go back out of this for a sec. So now we need to make materials for the door. And so we're going to do the item one first. So if we right click at the bottom, we can create a material and just call this item room door outer. And I think all of the door, like the metal parts, are all going to be the same material. So we want this to be metallic and not too smooth. And then we just want it to be like a goldy color. And so then we want to drag this onto all of the parts of the door except for the actual main door itself. And so like that. And the latch could be like that. And then this could be like this too. So then the inner door can be, let's see what it looks like with this. So not that, because that's kind of ugly. So let's do another material. Item room door inner, and we'll put that on the middle part for right now. And we just want this to be darker, so it could be I don't think it should be metallic. Maybe it should be. I don't know. Let's see. So turn up. Uh, so maybe it should just be the door material that I'm already using. Or I could use a cartoon material. I do have the metallic material. Let me see if that looks good. Hang on. Uh, metallic. So the metal shader graph is actually the cartoon shader graph that we made earlier. And we could change the shades to 0.11. No, this doesn't look good. Let's just do lit. Um, door. Door inner. That ain't it. Materials only. Door inner material. See, that's the color of the ones that are there, but they're kind of ugly too. I don't know. Let's go back to where I was. We'll just put this back here. Item door inner. Uh okay, let's create a new shader graph. So create shader graph, lit shader graph, and we'll call this inner item door material. Inner item door. Okay. And then this inner item room inner door is going to use this inner item door shader. So if we double click on this, we could just drag it away from, oops. Yeah, so just like this, and then we'll put this like here or something. Cool. So we just want to add some like noise to this, so it's not just like a plain bub. It's just so boring looking. I don't know. So let's just change this to like this. Save. Okay. So we'll add noise texture. Multiply this by color. A color could be an HDR color. And then we'll do this. And we could drop this in the base color and save it. And the UVs are not done for the door, so it kind of looks stupid. So let's do a tiling and offset node. Oops, I keep pressing Shift A, but it's right click in Unity. So the tiling and offset node can go to the UV, and then we just want to probably tile this 5 on Y, maybe. Okay, so that's looking slightly better, but the color is lost, I think. Am I missing something? Why is the color lost? It's supposed to be yellow. Oh, it's because the material was already created. So you have to click on this door and make the color more yellowy if you want it to be yellowy. And then we also want to add some metallic to this. So metallic is set at 0. Let's just set that to 1. Save it. Okay, so now it's looking shiny. Let's zoom this out to 50, so it's more like dotty. Okay, maybe we should do 15, so it's like that. I don't know. That just gives it some wear, I guess, so it doesn't look like just a flat blob. I don't know. I think that looks better, and probably the outside could have some wear too, but I don't know. Maybe we should try applying this to the outside. Ooh, now that's looking real cool. So instead of metallic 1, let's just do 0.7. It doesn't need to be that metallic. It's too much, too shiny. Turn the smoothness down to 0.2. All right. So this is the outer door. It's gonna go back. And I don't know. We'll just leave it like that for now. Put this back. And then in the game, let's take this door and move it on the x-axis, move it on the z-axis. So it's like this. Let's rotate this 180. Okay, so when we go into the game, it's going to delete the door. We'll just turn it back on. We want to see what it looks like when we're actually playing. So okay, so there it is. Um, let's because we're running the game right now, we can delete the top door, and we'll take this door and we'll shove it in the door slot. So let's do that in the scene view. Boom, boom, just like that. Um, yeah, so go back to the game view. It's too high up. It needs to go lower. So let's go back to the scene. It's too big. Let's shrink it because we want it to be above the ground, but it also can't be right at the top because these are. And we could probably make like a torch that goes on the edges, like two torches that go on the sides that are like instead of it doing like red fire for the torches, we could have it do like yellow fires. And let's just not forget it. So I think it looks pretty cool, except for this shader color, I think is wrong. So inside of the material, let's just click on this again and maybe it should be darker. Yeah, darker definitely looks better. Boom. Oh, it could be glowy. That's super cool. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I think that might be the one. What about the outer part though? Should we make this glow too? Should we give this an emission? Should it be like yellow and glowy too? The whole thing could be glowy. No emission. No, no, it's just it's too much. It's too much. So then also the metallic map can maybe be. It doesn't need to be that metallic. Just double it down just a little bit. So I think this is it. Maybe the inside of the door should be a little bit darker. I don't know. I don't know because it's taking away from the lock. We spent a lot of detail on the lock or whatever. And all right, so I made some edits off camera just because this doesn't it didn't really look so when you make things in Blender and you import it into Unity, it doesn't really look the same as what it looks like in Blender, and a lot of the detail is lost because of like the angle of the camera is like a top down angle, and it's something you can't really replicate as well in Blender. But yeah, so I made the lock way larger. I made the door a lot wider so it matches the other doors, and I made the door thinner so it's not so like fat. And then I changed a bunch of I added an overhang. So you see how this door has like an overhang on the edge here. I added that on this door as well. So I think this looks a lot better than it was looking. I think that it also probably needs like a visual effect or something to show like kind of glowy, like some rays coming out of it or something to really make it spark. Let's do that really. This is already a super long video anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So let's add a visual effect graph. If you don't have the visual effect graph, you can add it through the package manager under the window option at the top. But let's just call this door glow. And we're going to just dump this directly onto the locked door itself. And let's double click on it in the scene. And so you can see that it is going in the dead center of the thing. So we actually want to zero this out. So set the position to 0, 0, 0, and then you can set the scale to 1, 1, 1. And now it's going this way like this. So if you double click on click this edit button here, we can drag this like this. And yeah, so we want to rotate this 90 degrees. So we could just do that here probably. What's this? Okay, so do 90 on the x-axis. Yeah, and we'll move this up like this. And we want this to be way smaller, and we want the lifetime to stay, but we don't want it to go that fast. So let's just do zero point 0.1. Okay, and then the particle should be this particle, and we want the color to be yellow. And we want this to be way less visible. So instead of this, let's just get rid of these two keys. And in the middle, we'll just do like alpha of like 13, 40, whatever. So now there's like a little glow in front of the door. And I feel like this shouldn't be this yellow. It should be like light, light yellow. Just a little bit of glow for the door. Why not? Let's see it from a top down view. I think that looks really cool, to be honest. We should make these a little bit, um, the size could be, instead of getting larger over life, it should be getting smaller. So it starts at 1 and then it goes down all the way here. Save it like that. Okay, and then what if we crank the glow on this up a lot? Like, boom. Let's not. Well, let's just leave it at 0. There doesn't need to be glow in this. The inside of the door is already glowing. And then is it coming out of the right spot? I think it just needs to be a little bit higher. Do we need more particles? Change the capacity to 5,000 maybe? And the rate can go up to 500? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Definitely don't do that. Uh, Change this back to 64 and what was it, like 32? I don't even remember. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so the first one can be this white color, and then the last one can be more yellow. That way, because we just need to add the yellow back. It's not yellowy enough. And I don't know. I think that adds a lot to it, doesn't it? Be better if it was coming out in a cone. Oh, mm, no. No, this has been fun. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to end the video here. This is already way too long, but if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next one.